I thought I had time. I thought tomorrow would come. I thought I could say the words, make the calls, fix the mistakes, later. But later never came. She was gone before I realized it, and suddenly every second I wasted felt like a lifetime lost. Regret hit harder than pain, and I understood the truth too late. Moments are fleeting, love is fragile, and time doesn't wait for anyone. If you love someone, tell them now. Don't wait. Don't assume you have forever. Life is fragile. Cherish it before it's gone. I thought I was being responsible. That's how it always starts. No one wakes up and decides to neglect the person they love. No one plans to slowly drift away. It happens quietly, under the disguise of responsibility. I told myself I was working hard for our future. Long hours, extra shifts, late-night emails, stress on my face, phone always in my hand. And every time she asked me to sit with her, I had the same answer. Just 5 minutes. I'm tired. Tomorrow will be better. Tomorrow became my favorite word, because tomorrow meant I didn't have to choose today. I remember one evening clearly. She had cooked my favorite meal. The table was set beautifully, candles lit, something she hadn't done in years. I walked in, tired from work, phone buzzing. I noticed the setup. I smiled, but instead of sitting down and being present, I said, "Give me 10 minutes, I just need to finish something." 10 minutes turned into 45. When I finally came to the table, the candles had burned low. The food wasn't as warm, and her excitement was gone. She didn't complain. She simply said, "It's okay." But it wasn't okay. That was the night I chose busy over us. And I didn't even realize it. The dangerous thing about being busy is that it feels productive. You feel important, needed, responsible. But busyness can become a shield that protects you from intimacy. Because intimacy requires energy, listening requires attention, connection requires slowing down, and slowing down felt uncomfortable to me. When she talked about her day, I half listened. When she expressed frustration, I offered quick solutions instead of empathy. When she wanted to sit quietly together, I reached for my phone. I convinced myself she understood. She knows I love her. She knows I'm doing this for us. She knows I'm tired. But love is not proven by intention. It is proven by presence. And presence was the one thing I kept postponing. There's something painful about looking back and realizing she wasn't asking for much. She didn't want luxury. She didn't want grand gestures. She wanted me, my time, my attention, my eyes looking at her when she spoke. But I treated those small requests like interruptions. Interruptions to my work, interruptions to my stress, interruptions to my important life. What I didn't understand was this. She was not interrupting my life. She was my life. I remember her saying once, "I miss how we used to talk," and I laughed lightly. "We still talk," I said. But what she meant was, "I miss feeling chosen." When you repeatedly choose work, stress, and distractions over your partner, you don't just create distance. You create doubt. Doubt that they matter. Doubt that they are still desired. Doubt that they are still your priority. And doubt, if left unchecked, becomes quiet sadness. She stopped asking me to sit with her after a while. That should have scared me, but instead, I felt relief. Relief that I could focus. Relief that she wasn't complaining. Relief that there was no pressure. I mistook her silence for understanding. It wasn't understanding, it was resignation. She was learning to live without expecting me. That's the moment a relationship begins to fade. Not when there's shouting, but when there's acceptance of distance. I thought providing financially was enough. I thought stability equaled love. But stability without connection feels cold. You can live in a big house and still feel alone. You can share a bed and still feel distant. You can say, I love you every day and still not feel it. Because love is not built on words alone. It's built on shared time, shared laughter, shared silence. And I gave my best energy to everything except her. My boss got my focus. My phone got my attention. My worries got my thoughts. She got what was left. And what was left was tired. One day, she stopped preparing special dinners, stopped trying to start long conversations, stopped waiting up for me. I thought she had become independent, stronger, less needy, but the truth? She had stopped hoping. And when hope disappears in a relationship, it doesn't scream, it simply fades. Looking back now at 100 years old, I realized something painful. I was building a future that I assumed she would always be in. But I wasn't nurturing the present that kept us connected. And the present is fragile. Moments do not repeat. There is no rewind button for missed dinners, no replay for ignored conversations, no second chance for a night when someone needed you and you chose distraction. I thought success meant sacrifice. I didn't realize I was sacrificing the wrong thing. The irony is this: all the work I prioritized, all the stress I carried, none of it matters now. What matters are the evenings I rushed, the walks I declined, the stories I didn't fully hear, the laughter I postponed. If I could go back, I would understand something simple. Being busy is not a badge of honor in love. It is often an excuse to avoid slowing down, an excuse to avoid vulnerability, an excuse to avoid truly connecting. Your partner doesn't need all your time. They need meaningful time, undivided time, time where they feel like the most important person in the room, not an afterthought, not a task, not a background presence, but chosen. If you are watching this right now and thinking, I'm just working hard for us, ask yourself, when was the last time you sat without your phone and really listened? When was the last time you looked into their eyes and noticed something new? When was the last time you chose them over your notifications? Because one day, you will have more time than you ever wanted. Time in a quiet house, time with empty chairs, time with memories. And you will wish you had traded some of your busyness for presence. I thought I had time. Time to reconnect later. Time to slow down eventually. Time to make it up. But life does not wait for eventually. It moves. And if you are not careful, it moves forward without the connection you once had. Don't make the mistake I made. Don't confuse being busy with being loving. Choose us while you still can. Because the cost of choosing busy over us is something you only understand when it's too late. In the beginning, she told me everything, every small detail of her day, every random thought, every fear, every dream. She didn't just speak, she shared, and I loved it. I loved being the person she opened up to, the one she trusted. But somewhere along the way, I stopped listening, not completely, just slowly, quietly, dangerously. It didn't happen in one moment. It happened in distractions. While she was talking, I would check my phone. While she was explaining something important, I would interrupt with advice. While she was expressing emotion, I would respond with logic. I convinced myself I was helping. I thought solutions were better than silence. But what she needed wasn't my answers. She needed my attention. There's a difference between hearing someone and listening to them. Hearing is passive. Listening is presence. And presence requires effort. One night, she sat beside me and started telling me about something that upset her. I remember nodding while scrolling through emails. She paused mid-sentence and asked softly, "Are you even listening?" Without looking up, I said, "Of course I am." But I couldn't repeat what she had just said. That was the first crack, a small one, almost invisible. but cracks, if ignored, spread. After that, something changed. She still talked, but less freely, less deeply. She began filtering her words, shortening her stories, keeping certain emotions to herself. At first, I thought she was just becoming more independent, stronger, more mature. But the truth? She was protecting herself from feeling unheard. There's something incredibly lonely about speaking from the heart and realizing the person you love isn't fully there. It makes you question your value. It makes you question your importance. It makes you feel small. And instead of confronting me, she adapted. She stopped sharing as much, and I mistook that silence for peace. I thought, see? No more complaints, no more emotional talks. Things are good. But quiet does not always mean healthy. Sometimes quiet means distance. Conversations that once lasted hours became quick exchanges. How was your day? Fine. What did you do? Nothing much. I didn't realize those short answers were symptoms of emotional withdrawal. She used to tell me about her dreams, places she wanted to visit, things she wanted to try. One day I noticed she stopped mentioning them. Not because she stopped dreaming, but because she stopped believing I cared enough to hear. Listening is not just about information. It's about validation. When someone feels heard, they feel valued. When someone feels dismissed, they feel alone. And loneliness inside a relationship is far more painful than loneliness alone. I remember a specific moment that still haunts me. She was sitting across from me at the dinner table. She said, "Sometimes I feel like I'm talking to myself." I laughed lightly. "You're being dramatic." That sentence, that one careless sentence, closed a door I didn't know was fragile. After that, she stopped trying to explain her emotions in depth. Why would she? Every attempt felt minimized. Every vulnerability felt brushed aside. Over time, our conversations became practical. Bills, schedules, responsibilities. But the emotional layer disappeared, and I didn't even notice. Because I was comfortable. There was no fighting, no loud arguments, no obvious crisis, just a slow fading of intimacy. When someone stops talking to you deeply, it's not because they have nothing to say. It's because they don't feel safe saying it. And safety is built through listening, real listening, undivided attention, eye contact, silence without interruption, empathy without correction. I used to interrupt her with advice. She would say, "I just want you to understand." And I would respond, "I know, but here's what you should do." I was trying to fix her emotions instead of feeling them with her. I didn't realize she didn't want a solution. She wanted connection. She wanted me to sit in her world for a moment, to see what she saw, to feel what she felt. Instead, I stood outside it, offering instructions, and slowly she closed the door. Years later, I asked her one evening, "Why don't we talk like we used to?" She looked at me quietly and said something I will never forget. "You stopped listening a long time ago." That sentence hit me harder than any argument ever could. Because she was right. I had been physically present, but emotionally absent. And emotional absence is more damaging than physical distance. You can live in the same house and feel miles apart. You can share the same bed and still feel unheard. And when a person feels unheard for long enough, they stop speaking, not out of anger, out of exhaustion. At 100 years old, sitting in silence, I understand something now. Listening is love, not gifts, not grand gestures, not financial security. Listening, because when you truly listen, you communicate, you matter. Your thoughts matter. Your feelings matter. I choose to understand you. And when you don't listen, you communicate something else. You're secondary. You're not urgent. You can wait. I thought she would always be there to speak. I thought there would always be time to reconnect. But emotional distance grows quietly, and by the time you realize it's there, it feels unfamiliar to bridge. If you're watching this and someone you love still talks to you openly, protect that. Don't take it for granted. Don't scroll while they speak. Don't interrupt their vulnerability. Don't reduce their emotions to logic. Because one day, you may sit across from them and realize you don't know what they're thinking anymore. And that's a terrifying feeling. I stopped listening, and she stopped talking. And by the time I understood what I had lost, the silence between us was louder than any argument we ever had. Don't wait for silence to teach you what attention could have preserved. Listen now. Before the quiet becomes permanent. When you're young, love feels unbreakable. It feels solid, secure, guaranteed. You look at the years you've already spent together and think, we've survived so much, nothing can shake us now. That's what I believed. After 10 years, I felt safe. After 20 years, I felt confident. After 30 years, I felt untouchable. I thought time made us permanent, but time does not make love permanent. Attention does, effort does, presence does, and slowly, I stopped giving those things. Not because I didn't love her, but because I assumed love would maintain itself. I thought once love was built, it would run on autopilot. I treated our relationship like a house already constructed. I forgot houses need maintenance. I forgot even strong foundations can crack if ignored. There was no dramatic betrayal in our story, no scandal, no explosion, just small, unnoticed neglect. I stopped planning surprises, stopped writing small notes, stopped asking deep questions. I replaced curiosity with comfort, and comfort can be dangerous. Comfort tells you, you don't need to try so hard anymore. Comfort whispers, they're not going anywhere. And that whisper is seductive. It makes you relax your effort, relax your attentiveness, relax your urgency. I stopped trying to impress her, not because I didn't care, but because I thought I already had her. I forgot something critical. Love is not about possession. It's about continuous choice. Every day, your partner should feel chosen, not assumed, not guaranteed, chosen. There were moments she hinted at distance, moments she seemed quieter, moments she looked at me with something I couldn't quite understand. I interpreted it as mood, stress, age, but it was something deeper. It was disconnection. And I didn't act quickly because I believed we had time. Time to fix it, time to talk later, time to reconnect when things calm down. But life doesn't calm down. There is always something: work, responsibilities, health, children, bills. There is always a reason to delay emotional repair, and delay is where damage grows. One evening, she said something softly. "Do you think we've changed?" I smiled and said, "That's normal. Everyone changes." But what she was really asking was, "Are we still close?" I answered casually. Because I thought closeness was permanent. But closeness is not permanent. It's maintained, it's nurtured, it's protected. And protection requires awareness. The biggest mistake I made was confusing history with security. Just because you've been together for decades doesn't mean the bond is immune to neglect. Time together does not equal emotional connection. You can share a lifetime and still drift apart. I thought love had roots too deep to shake. But even deep roots can rot if the soil isn't cared for. Years passed. Routine took over. Conversations became predictable. Silences became normal. And I thought normal meant safe. I didn't realize normal had turned into distant. Then one day, reality shifted. Not slowly, suddenly. Health declined, energy faded, and in that fragile season I saw something clearly for the first time. Love is temporary, not because it isn't powerful, but because life is fragile. We assume tomorrow is promised. We assume we'll wake up beside the same person. We assume there will be another anniversary, another conversation, another chance. But assumption is dangerous. I remember sitting in a hospital room, machines humming quietly, her hand in mine, and for the first time in my life, I felt time slipping. Not slowly, but rapidly. Every second felt expensive. Every breath felt precious. And regret began flooding in, not because I didn't love her, but because I had loved casually. I had loved comfortably. I had loved without urgency. I would have given anything in that moment to go back to an ordinary Tuesday evening, to sit on the couch without distraction, to ask deeper questions, to listen longer, to hold her hand for no reason. But time does not rewind. It only moves forward. And when it moves forward without someone you love, the emptiness is unbearable. After she was gone, the house felt larger, quieter, echoing. I walked past rooms filled with memories, the kitchen where she once stood, the chair where she used to sit, the bed that suddenly felt too big, and I understood something devastating. Love was never permanent. It was a gift, a temporary gift, and I treated it like a guarantee. If you are in love right now, if someone still sits across from you at dinner, if someone still waits for you to come home, please understand this. You are not entitled to forever. Forever is not a promise. It is a hope, and hope requires care. Don't let comfort trick you into complacency. Don't let history make you lazy. Don't assume years together mean years ahead. Because one day you will wake up and realize the moments you rushed through were the most valuable ones you had. At 100 years old, I can tell you this with absolute certainty. The greatest illusion in relationships is believing they are permanent. Love survives on effort, on appreciation, on intentional presence. And the moment you stop choosing it daily, it begins to fade. I thought love was permanent. I thought she would always be there. I thought we had more time. But love is not something you store. It is something you practice every single day. Don't wait for loss to teach you value. Don't wait for silence to teach you listening. Don't wait for absence to teach you presence. Choose your partner today, not because you're afraid of losing them, but because love deserves urgency. I learned that too late. You still have time. Don't waste it believing it's unlimited.